You're listening to the Major Pod Network, the only place where your favorite toy store, bar, arcade, and arena are all on the same block. Scratch that major itch.
Today on the Game Marks podcast, we play WWE Crush Hour, courtesy of Mega Mark Brett Vaa. Will this game hold up today? Will we play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor? You're fired! All of this plus gaming news, GMP64 and Clash at the feast. Plug in and put on those nostalgia goggles because this week's Game Marks podcast starts now. And now, the Game Marks.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast, presented by the Major Pod Network. I am Mr. Anything is Feasible, George Feis.
And I'm the man they call Johnny Clash. And today, thanks to Brett Vaa, who always seems to just pick a great game, we are playing WWE Crush Hour.
And as always, we love to hear from you, so please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and make sure to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen, and always join in on the conversation on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod and on our Patreon channel, patreon.com/GameMarksPod. Johnny Clash.
What's up, baby? How you doing?
How you doing, man? How you feeling? We got a doozy of a game this week, but let's just do a little wrap up from last week. We played Mucha Lucha, Masqueritas of the Lost Code, and that was
again.
I mean, I
can't hate the game. It's Mucha. Yeah. I love Mucha Lucha. I love it Mucha, and I don't know. This isn't the route I would have taken for a game for it, being as it has like the wrestling background, but it's the game you can expect for kids and for the Game Boy Advance. So, future endeavor. Both of our parts rightfully deserved. Still love Mucha Lucha very much. Very mucha.
Yep. We'll be visiting that next year, so be on the lookout for that.
Yeah.
A little bit more on all the Patreon things in a little bit, but man, I mean, I don't even know where to start with what we got going on. I'm ready to jump into this week's game. I am so hyped for Crush Hour, but for all of the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of the more anticipated games throughout the past 2 years now that people have suggested or we just wanted to play, but we've got a lot to do before we get to that. All right, so let's start now with what's new on Patreon. Monday, right now, you get that ad-free show, and I've been putting them up a little early lately, so they're early and ad-free. Even if it's just a day, you're getting them early. Tuesday, you get these beautiful show notes that drive the show, and GMP Game Over, the sister show to GMP64. Now, I'm going to say it right here. I've said it to you. GMP Game Over, the Patreon exclusive show, is going to continue even when GMP64 is over after WrestleMania, so that will still be a thing. We're just going to revamp it a little. Wednesday, Future Endeavored. I played Hammerlock Wrestling. George is playing that this week. I'm so sorry, buddy. And Friday, we had a nice little debate on Clash and Burn. I say debate, but it was really just me giving my opinion on some controversial topics like Harry Potter versus Star Wars. So, but anyway,
yeah, I gotta, you and I gotta have a talk about that one.
That's fine. Like I said, my opinion. But tell us about the Streamer Spotlight for this month.
Streamer Spotlight. This is the last week for our friend twitch.tv/headburglar. Make sure, listen, this goes for everybody. Everyone that's ever been the Streamer Spotlight. Just because their month has passed does not mean that you stop supporting them. Please go and support every Streamer Spotlight. Headburglar, I mean everything. Playing Fortnite, playing Valorant, playing a wide range of things. Great guy, fun to watch, putting out great content. Friend of John and now a friend of mine and the podcast. And you should definitely go and support his Twitch channel, twitch.tv/headburglar.
Yeah, I'm actually going to see him in a little bit today. But I wanted to share kind of a cool story that I shared on Clash and Burn this week. You know, I'm a big hockey fan, right? Everyone knows that.
What?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Exactly. So I'm a big fan of the podcast Spit and Chicklets. If you listen to Clash and Burn, you already know where I'm going with this. I was in Newport, Rhode Island on a little getaway for a couple days. It was a fun trip. We're at a bar on Thursday night, which, listen, these bars get so packed, and it gets actually like scary with like COVID and everything. So at a certain point, you got to either leave or just walk past them and not even attempt to go in. So Thursday night, thankfully, it was like, a few people, good distance. It was outside. I turned around and I'm like, that looks like the producer of Spit and Chicklets, the hockey podcast from Barstool. I'm like, yeah, but that could be literally any guy. So whatever. A few hours go by. He's still there. Now I'm on my way to the bathroom before I leave, and some like little barback runs up to him, asks for a picture, and now in my brain I'm going, okay, it's Mikey Grinelli from Spit and Chicklets. I don't say anything. I'm not like the guy to go up to someone and be like, oh my God, dude, hey, can I get a picture? Like, whatever. So now we're in the bathroom. He comes and pees right next to me. So the bathroom's full. His friend goes, oh, Mr. Celebrity over here. Oh, everybody just knows you. And he's like, oh, yeah, I can't get away from it. So now Johnny Clash is here. He's got a few Michelob Ultras in him, and he just goes, let's go Islanders, right? Like an idiot. And he just goes, fuck, dude. So now he's laughing. I leave the bathroom. He leaves the bathroom. So now leaving the bathroom, he looks at me and like smirks like for the Islanders comment. So now I'm like, all right, I got to say something. Hey, big fan since day one. I'm a podcast producer also. So I think that alone, me saying like, I appreciate all you do for your podcast because you do so much, perked him up, and it wasn't like a fan interaction. So that he actually stopped next to me and like started asking about like recording equipment, what we use to record, what I produce shows on, what shows I produce, which I dropped Cody Rhodes. That will come out, I guess, soon. Whenever I know, you guys will know because I have no idea what's going on with that show. He didn't know who Cody Rhodes was, so I felt like an idiot, but it was just like a cool conversation. Then his girlfriend came over, I'm assuming, and she's a producer as well. So it was like a good little debate, I use this. Oh, cool. Yeah, how long have you been doing it? Like, it was just a good conversation about podcast producing that you don't get very often, especially from someone on like the Barstool network that does something so big. So that was cool. And then like my wife and our friends came out of the bathroom like, who are you talking to? And I'm like inside like, it was Mikey Grinelli. And they're like, I don't know who that is. So that was my fun weekend.
That's probably just like a unique conversation to have anywhere. I imagine that like, unless you know that someone works on a podcast, talking about a podcast is unless you know, it's not something that you're going to be like, oh yeah, you do a podcast? Yeah, let's talk about this for, 15 minutes or whatever. Like that's a very unique experience to one, talk to someone that and listen to their podcast, but and very successful at doing so, but also to have it be like, all right, let's like talk shop and like trade.
Yeah, it was cool.
Trade insider secrets and stuff. Like it's definitely a unique approach.
Yeah, just a cool experience. But anyway, back on track. We just talked about the streamer spotlight. Well, let's talk about YouTube for a little bit. YouTube. We're on our way to 400 subscriptions. Once we hit 400, we are going to bring to you the history of the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom, and all of their video game glory in video and audio format. We are 60 away right now. We are at 340. It is climbing slowly. I love it. We started at 290. We're already 50 ahead. I love it. I didn't think we'd even get to this point, but we're here. So let's get that. Let's get to 400. I'm begging you guys. Now,
I'm ready to do this Road Warriors episode.
Also on the YouTube track, GMP64 episode 29 came out last week, which was the go home to Backlash, which came out last night on Twitch. We have new champions crowned. Hell of an event.
Ah, man. So we are now officially in the last month of season 1 of GMP64. We are winding down but a short few weeks until WrestleMania. I am ready for it. This is one of those bittersweet moments coming up. I don't know, like sad to see it go, but happy that we did it and can't wait for it to come back around.
It's that phrase.
It's like holidays with your families. You're happy that they're there, and then once they're gone, you're like, God, I can't wait to not have to deal with that for another year.
It's like that phrase. I hate to watch you go, but I hate to see you go, but love to watch you leave.
Love to watch you leave. Yeah,
it's like that.
Yeah.
But regardless, Backlash, if you want to check it out, it will be on Twitch for another day or two before we remove it, and then it goes and lives on our Patreon page forever. So, we do know a few people have subscribed just to the Patreon to catch up on GMP64, which is pretty cool.
Looking at you, Purple Best Wishes.
Yeah. So, also on our website, GameMarksPod.com/shop right now, we launch our own line of controller grips for your PS4, PS5, Xbox, whatever controllers. We got blue, we got white, we got green, we got red, everything. They're awesome.
We're in the grip game.
Guitar picks. It started as a joke. It became a reality. I'm using them. I love them. I'm going to send you some, George. I haven't given you any yet, but they are so cool. I prefer usually a heavier pick, but these strum nicely on my brand new acoustic.
Now I just got to figure out how I'm going to get drumsticks done.
Oh, we'll figure that out. Don't worry. Also on our store is the 2-year anniversary print. If you purchase the 1st-year anniversary print, this will look beautiful next to it with the coinciding t-shirt. And that's pretty much all we have on sale right now. So go check it out, gamemarkspod.com/shop, and play it forever.
Oh, yeah. And don't forget, guys, new shirts always going up on that Pro Wrestling Tee store. We talked about it either last week or the week before, that Clash at the Feast shirt. Oh, man, do I still love that. Top number 1 of all the shirts that we've ever done. I love it. I love it. We've also got the logo prints. We've got, just everything. We've got GMP64 shirts. There's something for everybody. ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod. But John.
But George.
It is time for some gaming news. What do you got for us this week? Are you looking to get a better grip on life? How about your video games? Well, VGF Gamers are the largest silicone gaming brand in the USA. They have a variety of different and unique skins for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers and consoles. Check out their products at VGFgamers.com and use code GameMarks to receive 15% off your order at checkout. That's GAMEMARKS at checkout. VGF Gamers. Better grip, better style.
The German rating board in charge of rating games for release in the European country just leaked a new Star Wars release. Did you know that THQ Nordic is preparing to release Star Wars Racer Plus, Commando Combo, and the Star Wars Jedi Knight Collection on PS4 and Nintendo Switch? Neither did anyone else because THQ Nordic has never announced it, but now the cat is out of the bag thanks to the German rating board. Individually, every game in both bundles are already available on both of these platforms, but they've never been sold together, which is why the games are being re-rated. 1 month after its vague announcement of a new gaming-centric strategy, Netflix has explained how it will publish video games in the foreseeable future as downloadable smartphone apps available exclusively for paying video streaming subscribers. The public launch of Netflix Gaming last Thursday explained the service is part of the Netflix smartphone app, but only in Poland and only on Android so far. It announced the 2 games launching as part of the service today: Stranger Things 3, a 16-bit beat-em-up that was previously available as a standalone Google Play purchase, and Stranger Things 1984, a rebranding of a 2017 smartphone-exclusive game that revolved around slow, puzzle-solving movement through pixelated TV series environments. And that's all the gaming news we have this week. Check back next week. All right, so Netflix gaming is not what we thought it would be. We were kind of assuming maybe like a GameFly type deal, or I don't know, something on your TV, like a Stadia type thing. Imagine having like a Netflix controller in your hand and playing Netflix gaming.
Amazon has that. You can play. It's not totally out of the blue. You could play on your Fire TV. You could play games and stuff. So it's not completely unheard of. I know Apple TV has it. So I honestly, my thought after we stopped talking about it last week was that I was like, oh, maybe Netflix is going to release its own hookup. Like it'll have its own, like you can get like a Netflix dongle for your TV, and on that, or like a little box for your TV, and that has the capability to run games like if you had an Apple TV or something like that. So it's like, oh, maybe that's how they're going to get into the gaming things. But now we know it's something different. But I mean, my mind was all over the place once we stopped recording because I was so focused on like that week's game that I was just like, once we stopped, I was like, oh my God, how did I not think of this when we were recording?
That would make sense, but I guess this also makes sense if you're an Android user in Poland right now, but not here yet.
Well, it's a test run.
Yeah, they posted this in Polish, and the American account kind of like retweeted the translation, so I guess that means it is coming. But
yeah,
let's address a bigger issue right now. And
The elephant in the room, if you will.
I'm not necessarily calling it an issue because I'm okay with it, but WWE 2K put out another beautiful trailer, and it is pushed back to March, which is WrestleMania season. Now, this sparked a big debate. People aren't very happy with the pushback to March. Personally, after the last game, after they skipped a year, take as much time as you need to make this game good. I'm okay with that. I am dying. I am itching to love a wrestling game again. If you guys could really push this back and make it good, I am all for it. If it comes out and it sucks again, then the people who, if it came out now and it sucked, people would complain about it. If it comes out in March and it sucks, I think that's the end of 2K.
Yeah, if they get a pushback date, comes out in March now, which honestly, I'm in the same boat. Take your time. Make it right. Get all the features that you want in there to make it a good game. And to everybody who is like, oh, I can't believe you pushed it back, I'm so mad about it, just throw in 2K20 again and re-experience that, and then, maybe refamiliarize yourself with the reason that you want a game to be pushed back. As long as it comes out and it's a clean game, then I feel that it's worth the wait. It's the whole point of developing a game is to, besides making money and obviously, that whole aspect that goes into it, is to put out something that is like a love letter to an industry, a sport, whatever, a story. If they're going to put this 2K game out, then it better be, it better be badass.
It looks beautiful.
It better kick the shit out of 2K20.
It better hit hard. So
it better hit different.
The graphics that we see in the commercial that they put out SummerSlam weekend, beautiful. That, however, all cinematic, not really gameplay. I'm sure there's going to be a gameplay in the future that we're going to see. It looks so good, but I'm also assuming that that's going to be on the Series X and the PS5, those graphics, and guys like us, PC, probably be good, but I don't know, the people using the Xbox One still, the PS4, it might not be as nice, but I'm waiting to see the actual gameplay footage. I want to see what they changed, if it's smoother, if nothing's as clunky. I don't want no chain wrestling. Take out the abilities, take out all that crap. I know people love that. It slows the game down, having to worry about pressing L and B and whatever at the same time. Simplify the game. People want a simpler game. However, it could still be a wrestling sim, but take it down a notch.
It doesn't have to be what's the word?
Like when they put chain wrestling in the game in the beginning. Unless you're a wrestler, you don't give a shit about that.
Give me a faster pace.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, and we talked about it. Listen, cut this out if you don't want. We're gonna break kayfabe on GMP64, right?
Do it.
When we recorded that Firefly Funhouse match, and we were in 2K20 to get the Fiend and all the arenas and stuff, the first thing that we noticed is how is a game that came out in the early 2000s faster paced and more action packed than a game on a PlayStation 4, a PC, or an Xbox 360 or an Xbox One? How is a game on the N64 faster paced than a modern day console, a new gen console? How is that possible? It's because there's too much of this realism. Give me a little suspension of disbelief, or include a mode that it's not just you change the momentum of a match, where you have to change the momentum to fast in order to get things to go, quicker. And there should just be, do you want to play the game? Oh, here you go. When you first start up the game, you should be presented, when you load up a game, it's adjust the brightness so you can barely see this logo and stuff like that. Yeah. So you get all your environment settings right. There should be an option. How do you want to play the game?
Like Madden, like NHL, it says arcade or realistic.
That should be front and center, the first thing that you see. What kind of experience do you want? You can change it at any time, but you get to pick how the game feels and how it plays right from the start. That is an extra level. It removes the need for battlegrounds completely.
That would be great. That's a great, yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And it's so simple because they do that already in the EA Sports games.
It's one of those things where I feel like for the last couple of years they've tried, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, like to the point where I feel like a broken record. They have tried to stuff 10 pounds of shit into this 2-pound bag for the last couple of years in these 2K games, and that's not what people want. They don't want more. They just want better.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And hopefully, I'm very optimistic, but I also was at the same point in development with 2K20. I'm optimistic that this game is going to be something good. So I hope everyone else listening has a clear mind going into it. Don't just write it off, because this is make or break it for the 2K series. And if we don't have 2K, what do we have? We have nothing on the WWE, and of course we could wait for the AEW game whenever that's coming out, which I think that's going to be everything we want just from seeing some gameplay, but who's to tell right now? So just clear eyes going into 2K22.
I could have an entire episode of the podcast just talking.
We could do it if you want. We could do it one day.
To games. Maybe that's a bonus episode for Patreon.
All right, but with that, let's continue the 2K22 talk, because it's time for the question of the week. What's up, Game Marks? Are you trying to look your best while repping your favorite video game podcast duo? We know just the place. Head over to ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod to pick up your favorite GMP designs, including our various logo tees, Future Endeavor, the classic NES Pro Wrestling style tee, and of course, Mark the F out. Order today and receive a phone call from us. You never know who will pop in. That's ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod. Play it forever.
All right, so the question of the week is a weekly segment where you ask us a question, and if we pick your question, you get a GMP prize pack. Last week, the question was, will the recent talent releases affect your decision to purchase WWE 2K22? John and I gave our answers. But let's hear what you guys had to say on social media, letting us know your answers on any form of social media at GameMarksPod. The D213 says no, but how bad the last couple of games were will affect my decision.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm trying to tell everyone to kind of push out of their brain right now. 2K19 was good. That's the thing. I really liked 2K19, but at that time, I also took like 2 years off of the game, so I maybe enjoyed it a little bit more.
The strategy that you, I guess, reminded me of, because I know a lot of people who did it with the Madden and the NHL games, kind of actually holds true with the wrestling games too. You find the year that you like. You're like, okay, I really liked 2K19. Then you skip a year, and then you get the next one. Then you skip a year, then you get the next one. Like,
There's
I think
too many games these days to play all of these games every year, and it's expensive.
It's the same thing with Call of Duty. I know that you want to get your yearly releases out. You don't need a Call of Duty every year.
I skip every other also.
Especially when there's no anti-cheat in Warzone. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's why I skip every other also. I will be getting Vanguard probably.
Yeah, me too, because it's World War II and I'm a sucker for those kinds of games.
Regardless, Steve Hoker says, nope, not in the least. I buy every WWE, WWF game regardless of who or what features it has. See, there's people like that too. Great, good for you. The Fees, 23, no.
Not me.
No, there's release superstars on the roster every year. Also another good point. So why should that affect if you buy the game or not? Which seemed to be the more common answer, was people say, it doesn't matter who's in it as long as the game plays right. Which brings us to this week's question of the week from Twitter. What do you feel is more important in a video game? Action or story? So I guess we could say the gameplay itself or the story mode in the game.
Oh, that's tough.
It's very tough because
that's a tough one.
If the game's fun and it has a crappy story mode, you don't want to play it. Like, I'm a big Gears of War fan. I've said many times. I've played them all. I got to Gears of War Judgment, and I hated the story. It didn't do anything for me. I didn't want to play it. However, the gameplay itself is perfect. It's Gears of War. So I think I have to go more action. I think I have to go more story than action, because if it doesn't like bring me in and reel me in, I kind of don't want part of it. Like Prototype, when that game came out, it was so hyped. Story might be okay. The action sucked.
But the things you can,
So I still played it though, so I have to go with story.
So I'm torn because, okay, we've talked about my my love of the Force Unleashed video games a bunch of times. It's my favorite Star Wars video game aside from Jedi Academy that's ever been released. The Force Awakens 2 had all of the features of the first game, but with more abilities that you could do. The entire storyline of the game was maybe 3.5 or 4 hours long. The entire story, front to back, you beat the game in 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
But the things that you could do in those 3.5 hours were more than you could do in the first game, and you had like bigger and better abilities. So like, I'm torn. I think it really depends on if there's a multiplayer aspect. If it's a single player game and there's no multiplayer at all, then that story mode better be you better be giving me the Last of Us style storytelling.
Or the last two Spider-Mans, really.
Yeah. But if there's not if there is a multiplayer mode, sometimes you can have an okay story, a passable story. It doesn't have to blow my mind, but it could be decent. And then most of the fun is in a multiplayer. Because we've played games like that on this podcast where there's a story mode in a wrestling game and the story mode is like, okay, it's there. It's all right. It's fine. But the multiplayer, like when you play against someone or you play online against someone, then that's where like the game really opens up and has its chance to shine. So my answer is it depends on if it has multiplayer or not.
Okay. I agree. Did I ever tell you my Force Unleashed debacle?
No.
So I played it a little bit, like I rented it on Xbox or whatever at the time, and I asked for it for Christmas because I never finished it, and they bought me the Wii version. So now I'm sitting there.
Oh, and you actually have to swing in the Wii version, don't you?
So guess what? I played once and never played again. Yeah, it wasn't. I like the Lego Star Wars games. I gotta say, they're pretty.
The Lego games are very underrated. They're surprisingly fun.
But all right, are you ready? Are you tiptoeing? Are you souping up your sports car and your vehicles and revving up? You like that? You like that? Revving up for WWE Crush Hour?
I'm ready. Let's do this. Are you sick of drinking the same old boring coffee with the same old boring flavors? Well, Marks, it's time for you to check out Bones Coffee Company. Bones Coffee isn't just a drink that wakes you up in the morning. It's a full flavor experience. Small batch roasts that are made to order so that every order is guaranteed to be fresh. Unbelievable, all-natural flavors in every single bag. Some of our favorites are blueberry, paradise pie, and chocolate raspberry. But if you're not into the flavored coffees, they've got their single origin series featuring coffee beans from the greatest coffee growing regions in the world. Visit GameMarksPod.com/coffee to place your order and try the world's freshest small batch coffee. All right, WWE Crush Hour released March 17th, 2003. The PS2 and the GameCube, developed by Pacific Coast Power and Light, published by THQ. Now this game announced on May 16th, 2002 by Jack's Pacific and THQ. And this
that's a really dated sentence.
Yeah, just everything about this game is crazy. You load up the game and the opening cinematic is nuts. Absolutely crazy.
Did you play Twisted Metal and all those?
I played Twisted Metal 3 and I think Twisted Metal Black.
Yeah, I played a few. I can't remember specifically which ones, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. I did enjoy them.
Yeah, it's very similar. Also, if you've played any of the like San Francisco Rush games, like 2049 for the N64, it's very similar to those games where this is just like a car beat 'em up. It's like the battle version of Mario Kart or like Twisted Metal, like we mentioned. But the plot of this game, the storyline of this game, art imitating life, I suppose. Vince McMahon ends up controlling all of the television networks, making WWE superstars featured on any and all television shows and commercials. The newest show is Crush Hour, and it is a Demolition Derby style show featuring 30 of the WWE superstars with their own customized sports cars, motorcycles, ATVs, big rigs, whatever. There's a long list of vehicles here, and the roster is pretty, I mean, it's 30 wrestlers, 30 unique cars. It's a lot.
But let's talk about this opening cinematic here, because it explains how Vince McMahon has taken over all of the TV networks. It shows Kane grilling in a chef's hat outside. It's kind of remnants of the Chef Boyardee commercials he used to be in. Divas, I think it's Trish and Stacy. I could be wrong. I couldn't really tell by the character models. Like making fire by like rubbing sticks together. I'm assuming they're on like a survival show. And then it shows Big Show in his singlet by a water cooler, which I assumed is kind of like The Office. So literally WWE has taken over TV. Funny how they didn't have like The Rock in any of those.
Yeah, is this
the actual movie star?
I would say, is this like Scorpion King Rock?
A little after. I mean, this is Rundown. This is Walking Tall.
Oh yeah,
he's on his way. I mean, he's back probably for, he still comes back for like WrestleMania 20 and all that.
This is Vest Rock.
Yeah, this is Vest Rock. Vest in the world.
Leather pants, vest in the world rock.
But also in 2003, so this was a budget title. It wasn't as much in the stores as any other game, and for obvious reasons, it was a lot less. But also in 2003, you had Raw 2, WrestleMania 19, SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, WWE Mobile Madness, Backyard Wrestling, Don't Try This at Home, All-Star Pro Wrestling 3, and King of Colosseum. So at least on the WWE side, you have Here Comes the Pain, WrestleMania 19, and Raw 2, which are all big titles for the main consoles. That's an Xbox, that's a GameCube, and that's a PS2 game. So then you put out Crush Hour. Let's go back a little bit. Let's go back a couple weeks. Would it make sense to have instead put Crush Hour in one of these games?
Could you... Oh, wait a second. Hold the phone here. Can you imagine if, while you're walking backstage through Here Comes the Pain, there's an arcade machine of Crush Hour, and you could play Crush Hour on the arcade machine?
Yes, something like that. I get it if you put it inside a game. You can't put it in WrestleMania 19. It's too small of a disc. It won't hold it. But Raw 2, maybe. Here Comes the Pain, maybe. I get that it would be a little less. Maybe there wouldn't be 30 superstars and all the million game modes we're about to read. But listen, it could have been a little extra.
When we opened the game and we were looking through the roster, the first thing that you said is, I wonder what game they took these character assets from. Oof. And it looks like they're the character models from Raw 2.
Yeah, they're very smooth, and I guess you could say dumbed down. Like, they didn't go all out making them because you don't have to. They're not wrestling. There's
not a lot of texture.
You're not going to see them very often, so it didn't really matter as long as the face looked okay and the body was somewhat similar. I get that. Yeah, Raw 2, I could see, or I guess like a dumbed down version of a SmackDown model as well.
I just don't see where you fit it in Raw 2. Like, yeah. I at least for my thing, it like makes sense that it's like a Easter egg to find in Here Comes the Pain. But Raw 2 it has to be like a game mode. Like, you have to select it from like the menu or whatever.
It's just a theory because we've been talking about that, like including All-Stars or Battlegrounds within a 2K game. But
that's a good idea. I like it a lot.
But let's talk about the game modes. There's a lot of them here.
Oh yeah, there's a ton. So no real like exhibition mode here, but some of the game modes are the shows or pay-per-views, if that makes sense. So the game modes are Raw, which is compete against rivals to get the required number of kills to win. That's like you're just like your free for all. You can set it to be a team battle, so you have like a team deathmatch aspect to it. There's SmackDown, which is just like Raw, but there's secret passages in the walls. There's Lumberjack Match, which is a wood field, and you have to reach the star on the top of the field. So it's almost like...
Shouldn't that be called a ladder match?
Hill? Yeah.
Or triple cage?
Hardcore, which is Johnny Clash's favorite mode. Grab the hardcore belt and hold on to it for 30 seconds.
Such a mistake.
The Iron Man match. Most kills within the time limit. Hell in a Cell. You start outside a squared room with 3 other competitors. You go head to head, and if you die, you appear outside of the cell, and you have to wait until someone else dies so you can fight them. The last person in the chamber gets their health restored, and when the cell opens up, now you get the required kills to win.
So confusing.
That is a lot to unpack. So it's pretty much everyone battles inside the cage. The last person inside the cage gets a health boost, and then it's a free-for-all.
So it's like the TNA reverse rumble.
Yes. The gauntlet match. 4 connecting roofs, and you have to get the number of stars needed to win. If you fall off the roof or die, you lose a point. So this is essentially like grab the power-ups in Mario Kart, but you're jumping from a roof to roof. Royal Rumble is you fight your way and hold on to 2 crowns as time runs out. Player with the most crown, You fight your way to hold on to 2 crowns. As time runs out, players with the least number of crowns are eliminated. Battle Royal. You fight in a subway, and you have to get through 11 different opponents. That sounds like the gauntlet match.
Yeah.
Okay. King of the Ring is a one-on-one with 11 others. Each time you kill someone, another opponent joins. That also just sounds like
a Royal Rumble.
Battle Royal, and and it should be named Gauntlet. The cage match. Kill everyone in the cage to get the contract. You have to follow the arrows to get to the end point, and if you do that 3 times, you win. And finally, the Survivor Series. You and your partner go against another team, and you have to kill the other members of the team to get points. 3 points to win, and you can tag in and out.
There's a lot here, but they don't really tell you what to do in each one, like beforehand. You just set the rules and you go. But I think we played Raw the most and Hardcore, but if you really think about it, Iron Man, where it's just most kills within a time limit, is the most generic one I feel like we should have played.
Yeah, I mean, we've it's kind of hard, man. There's so many different game modes. A lot of these are unlockable, so you have to play through the story mode to get to them. And we did one of each, but it's just at a certain point they all kind of mesh together because Gauntlet, Battle Royal, King of the Ring, they're all the same. It's just where you're actually fighting.
Yeah, you do get a nice like wrestling looking arena in most of these with the Titantron and everything, which is kind of cool.
Oh my God, the entrances and everything, it's wild. It's wild.
Well, let's talk about the gameplay itself.
Well, there are 30 wrestlers in the game, and each one of them has a signature special move. It is in some cases a one-hit kill, and in other cases it just does a ridiculous amount of damage to the point that it might as well just be an instant kill. I
think that's the part I didn't really pay attention to while playing. I was just going like pew 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 when I didn't realize I would have like a special or a turbo or something in the corner. You have to like keep your eyes moving and see what you actually have, and it's hard to lock in and actually kill someone.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's definitely a lot to unpack about this game, but there's every gun has just their regular like laser beam gun that's just like your generic shot. Doesn't do a ton of damage, but if you spam it or if you're able to like pin your opponent up against the wall, you definitely can do some damage. But there are weapons and power-ups that you can pick up. So the weapons you can pick up is the Annihilator, which is like an energy beam. You have the Atomic Drop, which is a guided bomb. You have a grenade launcher, a laser-guided rocket, mines, the twisty rockets, which just spiral heat-seeking rockets, and you have the VRF gun, which is just a smaller version of that Annihilator energy beam shot. Now, in the game itself, there is commentary by good old JR, and he will literally call out every single thing that happens. And when I say every single thing, I mean every single thing, to the point that you're just like, all right, Jim,
Hey,
rest.
listen, if there was no commentary, we'd be saying we want commentary, but it's cool that they actually even put it in there. When Raw 2 and Mania 19, they didn't have that.
I don't need to know every weapon that every person picks up, and I don't need to know when every person is flying through the air and when every person misses a shot. Like, it's literally every single thing that happens, there's a call for.
Yeah, well, whatever. I don't really mind that much. But also on the player side, there's taunts that you could, like every other wrestling game, there's taunts, but it's signature phrases more likely, and the little character icon on the left side of the screen lights up and they actually talk. So that's kind of cool. It's actually the wrestlers saying their catchphrases. So not much recording done by the wrestlers here, but they probably did all give at least like 2 or 3 phrases that are in this game.
Yeah, and some of them are actually pretty good. They all kind of hinder back to their character. So it's like the things that it's like a car related version of their catchphrase, if that makes sense.
But let's go back a little bit and talk about the season mode that we touched on, because the whole premise of the game is Vince McMahon he now owns every single TV network, and he's making wrestling related shows for everything, Crush Hour being one of them. So the story mode is 17 seasons consisting of various match types and considered pay-per-view and TV. So say you'll do Raw, SmackDown, then maybe you'll get a Battle Royal, then maybe you'll get King of the Ring. And I believe as you go on, you unlock more wrestlers and you unlock more arenas. So in the beginning, you don't have all of the wrestlers with their cars. You have to unlock some, and we're going to get through that in a minute and tell you which ones exactly.
Oh boy, there's us. There's so many to read here. Am I taking it this week, or are you taking it this week?
I could take it. I'll take the regular roster. You take the unlockables.
All
but
right.
First, let's hear a word from our sponsors. All right, your roster. You have the Big Show with the Big Rig, Billy Gunn with a concept car, Booker T with an SUV pickup truck hybrid, Brock Lesnar with an armored truck, Bubba Ray Dudley with a converted pickup truck, Chris Benoit with a modified ATV, Chris Jericho with a muscle car, Chuck Palumbo with a concept car, which is the same as Billy's, Edge with a futuristic sports car, Jeff Hardy with a wood-paneled station wagon with smoke coming out the windows, Kane with a modified muscle car, Kurt Angle with a patriotic SUV, Matt Hardy with another wood-paneled station wagon, Rikishi with a steamroller that actually has a picture of his butt on the back, Rob Van Dam with a 4-wheel ATV, and he's one of the few that you actually see their character model in the car, The Rock with a luxury sports car, Stacy Keibler with an import tuner, Stone Cold Steve Austin with a monster truck, Test with a converted pickup truck, Triple H with an armored ATV, Trish Stratus with a German luxury car, The Undertaker with a 3-wheeled chopper, a little trike, and William Regal with a British roadster.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
And that's what is announced by Howard Finkel for each person's entrance. It'll be like, The Rock in a luxury sports car.
Yeah. But your unlockables. Now, these are unlocked by beating season mode with certain superstars. Bradshaw in an armored fire truck, Christian with a futuristic sports car. It's Devon, but it's Reverend Devon. I think maybe the only appearance of Reverend Devon in a video game, with a converted pickup truck, Hulk Hogan with a sports car, Kevin Nash with a big rig, Lita with a racing car, Ric Flair with a sports car. John, please let everyone know what your favorite part of Ric Flair's car is.
The grill actually says woo, which is awesome.
Awesome. Stephanie McMahon has a German luxury car, and Vince McMahon has a super stretch limousine with guns on it.
So I actually looked up Here Comes the Pain Devon, and it's 3D Devon, so you might actually be right. We might have to look into that and see what other games Reverend Devon was in.
I know you can make Devon, like Reverend Devon, like they have the outfit in other games, but I don't know many games that he is just default Reverend Devon.
Yeah, no, Raw 2, he's not.
And even less games with Deacon Batista.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting. I'm gonna look that up.
So, did you have a favorite car?
I thought Edge's car was cool, the futuristic sports car. The Hardee's is hilarious. But every car, like a wrestling game, has different abilities, different speed, different strength, defense, all that. So you kind of...
Like a racing game. I know what you mean.
Yeah, sorry. You kind of have to pick and choose. And I don't know, some of them looked really cool. Like I would have loved to be Brock or Kevin Nash, but then their speed and their handling was down, but their strength and defense was up. So you kind of have to find a balance. And some of them had it. Hulk Hogan's car was really cool because, I mean, it's the red and yellow with the Hulkamania on it. It was awesome, but...
I loved Regal's car.
Yeah.
That's my number one favorite. Regal's car looks awesome in this game.
Yeah, and of course you like being like Triple H and RVD, Undertaker, because you can actually see the character models as they're going.
Yeah, and it's some minor criticism here. In some of the cases, the sizing and the proportions, way off.
Yeah, very.
So it Clash at the Feast this week, we'll talk about a little bit later. I'm RVD in one of them. And I believe that's the one that you picked, Edge.
Yep.
And me on the ATV, Rob Van Dam sitting on the ATV is almost bigger than your entire car.
It's actually on the cover of the game, so you could see it for yourself if you really want.
Yes. But yeah, the scaling and proportions of how these guys are laid out in not aspect to the size of the wrestler on the vehicle, but the vehicles to each other. Just the scaling's a bit off.
All right, but there's also some unlockables, some cheat codes here. So, of course, you could unlock all levels and vehicles by doing a temporary code. I'm not going to say the code because it's pointless here. You could unlock Demolition Derby mode by beating any arena without firing a weapon. I don't know how you do that, but I guess you just kind of let it play out. You unlock the WWE Heavyweight title by beating one season with any Raw superstar, and then the WWE World title, you guessed it, by beating the season with a SmackDown superstar. But let's talk about this artwork, because on the cover, RV
layeth the rubber down.
Yes, that's The Rock's new catchphrase for this game, layeth the rubber down. It says on the back.
Also, Trojan's new catchphrase.
Trojan man. One of the cooler covers of a video game. I mean, it tells you everything you need to know about it. It's a wrestling game featuring cars that shoot each other. You have RVD and his ATV blasting The Rock in his sports car. The back, it kind of gives the premise of the whole game that's saying WWE has taken over TV with 30 WWE supercars, not superstars, finishing weapons, and multiple match types. I don't see anything wrong with this cover.
Nope. I love it. I think it's great. There's nothing to nitpick here. The font's cool. The way that the action is on the cover, you know exactly what it is. It
almost looks like this should have just been a GameCube game, not a PlayStation 2 game. But I get it that it came out for both. You know, GameCube always had those like lesser, simpler titles.
I'll give you that.
But there's also a UK cover which shows the same exact cover on the front with The Rock and RVD. It's just kind of sepiated out, and then you have in red above that Brock, Triple H, and Kane, who are very unproportioned.
I had no idea that Brock Lesnar was bigger than both Triple H and Kane. Well, he's actually taller than Kane.
Well, he was the next big thing, so they meant tall. Again, nothing wrong with these covers, the front or the back. They're really cool. The art is amazing. They're not just simple squares. It's got the cars everywhere, which is what you want to see. You want to see the action. It's got that little news screen that you see in the beginning with Vince McMahon taking over TV. It's vehicular mayhem. What
speaking about that news screen? Let's talk about this opening cinematic, John.
It's great because, like we said, it shows wrestlers in like other situations, like cooking, like a cooking show with Kane, or The Office, or a survival show with the Divas. But then it actually goes into Jonathan Coachman, which is funny because to this day, he is still featured at the halftime show in every Madden game, giving like the same commentary. It's the coach. Like, as soon as you hear it's the coach, you're like, skip.
I love the coach. I love Jonathan Coachman.
Yeah. Well,
I'm the only one.
Yeah, you're the only one. But let's talk about the art style of this game more than we already have, because when you go in first, it's got a nice like Demolition Derby type look for the main menu. You select your option, but then when you go into the Superstar select screen, I will admit, as cool as it is because it shows the character model to the left and the car behind it and kind of does like a rotation so you can see all the angles, like every other racing game, it is so slow. It takes forever to go through this roster.
I don't know if that's a limitation of the console, if it was designed to be that way so that there's like a level of like anticipation. But
I'm going to say designed that way because it kind of like pans to the next layer of this parking garage that they're all in.
It's a lot. It's pretty much the only thing from the character select that I would change. It's like the biggest flaw. The cars look cool. This reminds me a lot of, did you ever play Need for Speed Underground 2?
Not 2, no. Just 1.
Okay. Selecting the cars reminds me a lot of like that screen, like how everything's laid out and how like the car rotates. It's very similar to how things are laid out in that game. So it doesn't feel completely off or weird or anything like that. It's just, there's like a sense of familiarity to it.
Yeah, I get that from just playing regular games, I guess. Regular car games throughout my car game career in arcades. Actually played one last week in Newport. We played Fast and the Furious. It's a lot of fun. But George, other than that, I also played, did you know? Did you know an Xbox version of WWE Crush Hour was announced and planned, but never released?
Did you know WWE Crush Hour is on eBay? $20 used, $180 mint, and $279 graded at a 9.4.
Wow. Okay. Not going to buy that. I wanted to...
No.
So I wanted to point out Pacific Coast Power and Light, who developed this game. I'm not very familiar with them, so I did a little mini dive on them. In 1999, THQ actually acquired them, and that's, I guess, how they became part of this game. So it's a division of THQ that's now known as Locomotive Games. Other than like Crush Hour, I don't know much on here except like MX Superfly. They did some Power Ranger games. It's not a big division. For PSP, they did like Cars and Ratatouille. So I think they specialize in, from what it looks like, a lot of motoristic games with cars and racing, all the way from the PlayStation N64 all the way up to PS2 and GameCube to the Wii.
That's what I know them from. The Road Rash 64 game was my jam as a kid.
That was one that was always on the list, but I never got.
Oh, I loved it so much. I was a big Road Rash on the Sega. Yeah, so before Road Rash transitioned over to the PlayStation for Road Rash 3D and then eventually onto the N64. I loved that series on the Genesis, so I played it all the time. So I had the N64 as a kid and I had Road Rash 64 as a kid and I loved it. That's a game series that needs to make a comeback.
Hey.
Let's get a new Road Rash.
Yeah, I'm all for that. Or how about a new Simpsons Road Rage? I'd much rather that, actually. But all right, this game got us a little tense. It's time for some R&R, some ratings, and reviews.
Love that music.
So Metacritic for the GameCube gives it a 55 out of 100 and the PS2 a 56 out of 100. EGM only rated the GameCube with a 3.17 out of 10. I know you love that number. Eurogamer with a 3 out of 10 for the GameCube. Game Informer with a 4 out of 10 on the GameCube and a 5.25 on the PS2. GamePro only rated the GameCube with a 3.5 out of 5 stars. GameSpot rated both with a 5.7 out of 10. GameSpy rated both with a 2 out of 5 stars. GameZone with a 6.9 on the GameCube and a 6.2 on the PS2. IGN with a 6.5 on the GameCube, a 6.2 on the PS2. Nintendo Power with a 2.4 out of 5, only on the GameCube, of course. OPM with a 2.5 stars out of 5 on the PS2. Maxim gives it a 4 out of 10 for both. And the Village Voice, whatever that may be, gives it a 5 out of 10 on the GameCube.
You don't know what the Village Voice is?
No.
What?
No. Do I have to? Oh.
You live in New York and you don't know what the Village Voice is?
How often do you visit this webpage?
It's been around for decades.
And how often have you visited it?
What webpage? It's a publication. It's a newspaper.
How often have you bought that newspaper?
I don't live in the city. It's a big thing for like the creative arts in New York City.
So do I live in New York City?
It's famous for that. But you should know what it is as a creative person.
Have you ever used it? Have you ever read it?
No, but I'm aware of things, John.
So then we're both on the same level here, even though I don't know it. We've both never...
No, but I know what it is, and I know what it was, just because I haven't read it.
Okay, sure.
The words that came out of your mouth is the Village Voice Reader. I don't whatever that is.
I don't know what it is.
I knew what it was.
But you don't read it or buy it or you look at the webpage or anything, so what's the difference? Just because you're aware of it. I mean, are you aware of Santa Claus?
Don't get me started.
Okay, great. Regardless, they rated the GameCube version a 5 out of 10. So I think it's time for our rating now. I've never seen you more tense after the R&R, but...
I'm not tense. It just doesn't make sense. How did you not know what this is? It's very famous.
Okay, great. It's time to rate the games.
The game!
George Feis, get it off your chest. WWE Crush Hour, will you play it forever or future endeavor?
You're fired!
I'm going to surprise you with this one, John. I actually kind of liked it. I'm going to play it forever.
Woo!
I'm pleasantly surprised with how much I didn't hate this game. I don't know if maybe it's because like there's that whole like twisted metal spin on with wrestling in there. The game's not great, but I feel like if we got 4 people to play this, it would be like, because we had to play me and you and then the computer. If this was just like me and you and like Bear Bronson and CPA and we got Aaron Rourke to play, like, or TK. Like we had a bunch of people that were playing this game with us. I feel like it would be great. I liked it. I thought it was pretty fun.
All right. By the way, the Village Voice shut down in 2018.
It doesn't mean that it's not still famous.
It doesn't exist anymore.
But it was famous. It's still the publication shut down. It is still a website
that you've never visited in your life. Anyway,
you're missing the point of the argument here. But Johnny Clash, WWE Crush Hour. Will you play it forever or future endeavor?
I think I agree with the fact that it was fun and could be fun with people, but I'm going to call you out here because you say that never makes or breaks a game and you just made it play it forever for you.
Shit, you're right.
So I liked the game itself. Like I like seeing the wrestlers and what their cars looked like and their entrances, but past that, like getting into the gameplay and all that, it was clunky. I didn't really enjoy trying to lock down someone to shoot them with the gun that was, I don't know, future endeavor.
You're fired!
I didn't hate it. I didn't hate the game, but I'm not going to go back and put some time into it.
You called me out on my own rule, and you've got me rethinking it, and I think you might be right. I can't play the game forever because it would be fun with more people. So you're right. I'm going future endeavor too. Take off the multiplayer goggles, and maybe it's not as great as I thought.
You're fired!
All right, that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, you were right. Very, very rare occasion where I would very rare occasion where I will admit that you were
I'm
right,
leaving
John.
that screw up in now.
That's fine.
But let's talk about Clash at the Feast. All right, our weekly tournament, you can find it on youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast. For this week's episode, head on over, check it out. It is up there. Me and George went head-to-head in WWE Crush Hour. Last week, we played the Game Boy Advance Mucha Lucha game, so we did not have an actual Clash at the Feast game, but we did play WrestleMania 2000 in a tournament for the July tiebreaker. It started as a King of the Ring. The rules were a little weird. We kind of veered off in the middle. George gave me another shot to win it. And in the end, do you want to explain?
What do you mean? Explain the tournament?
How you won, the finish? Give any insight at all?
Oh, no. I thought you were saying, do you want to explain like how it happened? So yeah, it's just, listen, I wanted to be fair, and we had set this up in the King of the Ring. The idea was there. The execution left a little bit to be desired, so we changed the rules a little bit midway through because it didn't make sense. But I wanted to, keep it as fair as possible. So we changed the rules to give John a more fair shot. But in the end, Big Show, it's not enough. I thought the Big Show was going to be your saving grace there. It just wasn't enough. And in the end, that Falcon Arrow from Hardcore Holly to Farouk spelled the end for you. And that means that your winner, George Feis.
All right, so you took July. You're up 2-0 on the year now. I guess on the season, not the year. I have an idea to revamp Clash at the Feast for Season 4 when we get to that, so I'm going to run that by you, and we'll see what happens. But that was...
Maybe we'll even post it in the Patreon Discord, get some feedback from everyone else.
Yeah, I'd love to hear everyone else's opinions, because they certainly have them. But that was WWE Crush Hour. Why don't you tell us what we're playing next week, because we have another Mega Mark picked episode.
Oh boy. So, Jamie Patterson, good old Soups. Just, did you make him mad? Did you anger him in some way?
I don't think so. I hope not.
Because I feel like that's the only way that he's going to make us play this game. Maybe a little birdie named Will got into his ear. I don't really know. But next week we are playing 5-Star Wrestling.
I want nothing to do with this.
5-Star Wrestling.
All right. This is another one we've been waiting to play, but for all the wrong reasons. I think just so we can get it out of the way. All right. Well, that's what we're playing next week. We just played WWE Crush Hour. Take us home.
That's going to do it for us this week on the Game Marks Podcast. Please check out our merchandise at GameMarksPod.com/shop and join us on Patreon at Patreon.com/GameMarksPod. It is the best way besides listening to support the podcast, and be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. Leave us a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to wherever great podcasts can be found. Thank you very much for hanging out with us this week. Thank you very much to the Mega Marks for picking these games. And thank you, John. Thank you for playing Crush Hour with me. I think it's time for you to do that thing that you do so well.
Game over. Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the Clash at the Feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.